Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. My name's Soleil and I garden in a zone 5B in mid-Michigan, and today it is a high of 37 with the sun being out and it is absolutely glorious. So I thought we'd come out, take a look at what I did with the items that we unboxed just the other day so you can see how I use them in the garden, as well as to do some pruning. We're going to be pruning the Rose of Sharon today, as well as my Temple of Bloom. Well, it's not actually the Temple of Bloom. This is the first edition Seven Son Flower shrub. So let's get started. Well, here in the potager, things are looking nice and springy because it's very warm, and I'm loving the new garden bench in the spot it's at. I would like to get a little side table next to it now. Just one that I can tuck back in this corner so I can place some drinks on it when I come out here and relax. We have some great little parsley coming up right now. The parsley is looking fantastic. We have some green onions, and I've got some kale seedlings that are still growing down in this sheltered row cover. And we're waiting to see how the fig will do this spring. I don't know yet because we are definitely going to get some really cold weather again here soon. Lows of like 16, so we're not past our freezes. And we do have the rosemary in this cover right now. It's looking a little bit crispy in some spots. I don't know if it's going to be okay or not, but right now I'm just going to leave this cover on it. We'll see how it does these last few weeks as we continue to get down into some really cold weather. Now over here is where we have placed the garden spheres that I put together last week. And these are looking pretty good. I really like the way that they turned out. I've actually used them for these 2 Bar Harbor Seaside Serenade hydrangeas, and I do still need to take some of the stickers off if I can get them off, although I do think they will probably weather away as they get rained on, and I do need to clip the tags off. But isn't that pretty? So these hydrangeas are smooth hydrangeas. They're similar to Incredible, but I actually like these a little bit more because of the size of their blooms and because of the way that they bloom. And I think these will grow up really nice right through these supports. And then if there is a rain, it will be just the right amount of support to help keep them from snapping over completely. So that's really great. So we want to do a little bit of trimming today, and here's the area where we're going to work in. It's the Half Moon Garden, and right now I have the Seven Son Flower right here, which is the Tianshan Flower shrub, and then I have next to it the Rose of Sharon, and I also have a rose here. So let me show you what I did on the other side when I had a nice day. Over here, I think it looks a bit more tidy. You can see some of my trimmings are set to the side there. I have cut back the Seven Son shrub and just really opened it up to allow for it to continue to grow. I prune right above a bud. You can see we have some really beautiful little nodes where the leaves are going to be sprouting from. And so I'm excited to see the new growth on this year because it is definitely getting a lot bigger. And then on this Rose of Sharon, let me come around the front here. What I did was I cut back quite a few of the stems to the ground because my goal with this Rose of Sharon, which is the lavender chiffon variety, is to grow it up like a small tree form. So we have a nice single stem coming from the base. I may continue to get suckers and have to continue to clip them back, but that's fine. And then we have a really nice little branching structure here coming up, and then I clipped the tops off so it can continue to branch out. Now you see we have some seed pods sitting here. This will reseed itself. You take a look, there are some seeds down in here. Let's see if we can show them to you. Yep, so there are some of the seeds. Those will fall down to the ground and they will begin starting a new plant. Some people say that they are a bit invasive where they live, so just beware when you grow them that you might want to snap off seed pods, or you might not. To me, I mulch a lot, and so it makes it pretty easy to pull up any of the little baby seedlings. You can hear the birds are truly enjoying the weather today, just like me. So I'm also growing these 7 sunflowers as small tree forms, and I want to limb them up a little bit. And what that means is I'm just going to be clipping them back to help encourage that branching growth. And anytime that you prune, you can look at the direction that the new growth is going in. So for example, this one has a shoot that's going to come up, and then one that's going to come out here. This one will come out towards me and also away from me. I'm actually really going to want to use this one because I'd like to get some nice upright growth here in the middle. So while it seems like I'm going quite far back, I want to make sure this doesn't grow towards my chaise lounges in this area where people are sitting. And I want to be able to have a little bit more inner growth from that one. Over here, however, I think I'll take it back just to here. And this one will be an inner growth and an outer growth. Now what you don't want to do is prune back too much more than 1/3 of a shrub every year. So I'm going to try to stick with that. I want to get an upright growth off of this branch, which is growing pretty horizontally right now. So I'm going to clip it back right here. And this one I'd like to keep some height on, but not too much, so we'll clip right there. And then I'm not sure if ultimately we'll be keeping this inner branch or not, but time will tell. So we'll clip this one off here. It might make it a little too congested in the middle, but we'll see. Now these branches are coming straight towards me, so again, I want to try to find something that's going to grow straight up. So I'm going to prune there and here. On this one, it is coming towards me right now, and that is kind of okay. But also I like the way that this is growing back this way and kind of diagonal to the front. So let's keep that at that height. This one, again, I'm not sure if I'll ultimately keep this branch or not, so I'm going to clip this back right here. We have a crossing branch right here. This small one is crossing this big branch, so I want to take that one off completely. And again, we might take this straight back down to where it's coming out here eventually. This reminds me a little bit of similar process to hydrangea pruning and taking off some of the smaller limbs and the way that the growth points on this are. So this one here, I'm just going to take back to right here. And then I'm going to let this one continue to grow out, and we'll see what happens here and here. Now let's go back around to the other side. You can see kind of the structure of this, and I'm thinking actually because of the height of the other branches that I may leave these, but I think I'm going to actually cut this one back a little further, as well as the one in front. That kind of helps even out the shrub, but it also helps to mimic the height of the one that is straight across from it in the other bed. I'm going to cut off some of this really low growth. And then right here, I'm just going to trim this one back a teeny bit here so we can get that upright growth going on it. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm not sure what's going to happen with these two little branches on the top of this because this is really only its third year. And so I guess I'll watch these. I might actually end up cutting those off as well. But for right now, I'm just gonna keep my eye on them and see what happens. All right, so this Rose of Sharon is rather tall right now. That's okay, but it's got a lot of stuff around the base in terms of branches. And I think I really wanna keep quite a bit of it, but I need to make some decisions a little bit further up here because I have 4 pretty strong branches down at the bottom, and then it kind of starts to branch out from there. And so I'm just going to kind of start to limit up, keeping that upright growth, trimming off some of these really small branches so that I can begin to build the shape of this plant. Just take this one off down here. And then there's some really small ones down here that are kind of like suckers. I don't want those at all. Those are pretty easy to take care of. I might even take this branch off. I think I might go with 3 at the base if I can get this to happen. See if I can get my pruners in there. Yeah, okay, I like that. Then we'll take some of these really small ones off right here, just so we don't have anything growing from about a foot down. We have one coming in the middle here that's crossing over this branch, so we'll get that. This one's kind of growing into another branch, so we'll take that one off. And I'm going to take this one off over here because it's growing kind of out. These 2 right here look like they were just crossing because of the wind, but we'll keep an eye on them. And then to keep it branching out, I'm just going to tip prune this above some buds to see if we can start to get a little more branching up here. And I'm also looking across at the other one to check out the height over there. This one gets a little bit more shade, and it seems to have really thrived with that, which is interesting. Because it is a full sun plant. But let's take a look at how that looks from back here. Yep, I do like that a lot. I think that looks great for now, and we'll see how that kind of branches out over the years. And every year we'll probably come back through and do some more pruning. I'm not going to prune the rose right now though because I don't have gloves on. But let's just take a look at some of the rest of the garden here. We definitely have some snow going on. I do need to come through and prune a few more hydrangeas. This is the pink diamond hydrangea that I have. You can see that the tips on this are bent down from the snow and wind and rain. So let's grab this while we're here. Might as well, right? And this one has some really nice strong branches on it, so that's pretty much all the pruning I'm going to do other than these old dead sections that are from whomever pruned it before I planted it last year. There. Super simple, right? All ready to go. Now I didn't prune like a whole third of that, but I really want it to get up above the fence level just to ensure that it gets plenty of sun so it can grow nice and strong. In this garden bed, we're starting to see some daffodils coming up. The witch hazel is still blooming a little bit, which is pretty. This is the first full year that it will be growing in the garden, as I planted those late last fall. I can see that we have some good leaf nodes starting on these oak leaf hydrangeas, and I'm really hoping things kind of hold off for the next week because of those cold temperatures that I see in the forecast right now. And let's just look at the hellebores that we have in this bed. These are the ones where we cut the leaves off, and they're really starting to look quite pretty, all budded up. And again, on these, I'm just kind of thinking they're going to wait probably another week before we get some of those nice temperatures where it's not so cold at night. We have some really nice big buds on the rhododendron over here. Aren't those gorgeous? I can't wait to see those. Hopefully these cold snaps don't do them in or desiccate them, but we have had plenty of snow, I think, that have kept them well watered this winter. Not a lot going on back here. This is the shade woodland area, so it's pretty covered in snow. I do still need to prune the Annabelle hydrangea that is right there. Not a lot to have to do on that, but we can hit that real quick. Sometimes it's hard to tell where to step during the winter or the off season here. But that's why I love having stepping stones in the garden. Just taking off some of the weak and spindly growth again, and then cutting back by a good third. These are the arborescens variety. Again, this is Annabelle, which is more of the native hydrangea type. All right, not a lot to do on that shrub, but that is all taken care of now. Easy. We do have this pretty little fern that continues to stay green and shine throughout the winter. And the pretty shiny leaves of the pieris look great still. This spring, I'm going to try and take the stake off of this weeping spruce here because it should have hardened off over the last 6 months. I have come through and pruned a bit on these honeysuckle shrubs that are behind the fence line in the way back, just to try to provide a little bit more sun to this area. It is a shade area, but I have this apple tree here that I want to make sure does get some good sun. And then we have the gorgeous Valley Rose pieris that is looking really pretty. It's just getting ready to start opening its blooms here soon. And I love the color of that. And I did actually take seeds off of that. I showed you, I think in one of my videos, the baby teeny tiny seedlings that I have gotten so far, which was just an experiment because I didn't know if they would actually grow or not. I do need to come and get out here really soon and start covering up my tulips with some cages, because you can see the rabbits are beginning to nibble on the fresh foliage. I did prune this limelight, but there's a couple of branches that I missed back here, so let's hit those real quick. All right, now it is actually done. But yeah, we've got some nice little pockets of green growth happening. Here's another tulip. I just love how the edges of the foliage are a reddish pink as they come up. I think that's super beautiful. And in this garden bed, we're definitely starting to see crocuses pop up. So these are not open, but it's a nice big patch of them that are going to open. We have a couple trying to come through this daisy here. And then we have quite a few of them in this patch of garden here. This one is beautiful. I love the deep dark purple on that, and you can see some more coming up through this daisy over here. And they're just kind of scattered throughout this bed, which is super fun. I came through and pruned my climbing rose. I don't know if it's too early or not. I don't know how well this one's going to do. This is its 3rd year in the garden, and it has definitely died back almost to the ground most years that it's been. I shouldn't say most, I mean the 2 years that I've had it here. So I'm hoping with the thicker, stronger stems that it has now that it will be more protected from the wind, but the wind typically comes from the west, and this is an east fence that faces west, so the wind does just hit it straight on anytime that it's cold, which I think may be impacting its hardiness. Just some more cute little spring flowers. Look at those beautiful little yellow stamens. I've pruned back some more of my clematis. I have a ways to go with the spring pruning yet, but we're going to get more snow still. So I'm just kind of taking it easy, doing one thing at a time, a little here, a little there. I did manage to get all the rest of the evergreen boughs out of my garden pots, so we have a big pile of them to take to my way back berm. Those just kind of help create wildlife habitat way back there. I do need to get back and trim some of those foxglove up there, some of that dead foliage, but lots of daffodils are also starting to come up. You can see them all throughout the garden. The little tips of greenery just starting to poke their heads through. They've been doing that for a few weeks now, but again, I'm hoping that they just kind of hang out for a little bit before they actually open their buds, because that cold snap will definitely kill them. We have some baby iris reticulatas here. That's that very straight, strappy foliage. They usually bloom really early. And again, more daffodils. So I accidentally dropped my microphone when I was coming through my fence because it got stuck on the snow and didn't realize it. So we're gonna just talk through the rest of this video together now. But here's my strawberry Sunday hydrangea, which is looking pretty good. It still needs to be trimmed up. I definitely cut off most of the blooms so far because of weather damage, but I definitely need to come back through and trim it for shape. And in this area, we also have the burning bush, which I have shaped into a small tree form, which I'm really enjoying. But I want to cut it back by about 4 or 5 inches. So I'm probably going to get out my hedge trimmers and kind of have at that top there just to shape it over the top. And then this is an Eastern Viburnum snowball bush, which I'm really excited for. This will be its 2nd full year in the ground. So hopefully that will bloom this year. I probably will cut back these ferns after the snow melts. I'm just going to wait because we have more snow coming in the forecast, and it'll just be a whole lot easier once that snow has melted. And then I'll need to come through and prune that PG hydrangea as well. The boxwoods are still looking good as always. This side bed needs some cleanup though, definitely. All of the mums are turning gray and black and brown, and they're dead, so I just need to cut those back when I have some time, but it's just been so wet. It's either covered in snow or it's wet because the snow has just melted. It's been that way throughout pretty much the whole winter, but I also want to get these branches out of the pots. I'll be interested to see if the clematis overwintered okay or not. Well, look at that. Isn't that pretty? I see a crocus here poking out. That is beautiful. What a pretty purple color. I just planted these last fall, and it looks like they're doing really well. What a nice pop for almost springtime. We've got quite a few daffodils that are coming up throughout these garden beds. You certainly can't see them all that well yet because they're only about an inch above the surface, but they're doing okay. And hopefully they'll kind of stay put as we go through some of this cold weather that's coming for the next week. Here in this garden bed, you can see we still have some penstemon that's actually green here. I think that's the Rocky Mountain Red variety, and some daffodils right behind that. I don't have much cleanup to do in this garden bed though. Just those two Oscar Peterson roses on either side of the juniper there need to be pruned back, but I'm going to wait a couple more weeks to do that. Let it warm up a little bit more. I'm interested to see how this holly does on the end of this bed because I just planted this at the end of the year last year. It was a great bargain, and hopefully it'll fill out a bit and kind of bush out more because it was a little bit sparse when I got it. Now this mailbox bed gets a ton of sun because it faces south and has a ton of daffodils, including ones that are already budding up. They should be okay though, as long as they don't open. I'm also going to be using the clematis in this bed, trying to train it over to the second trellis. I added this second trellis last year, and so what I'm going to do is trim back the clematis but leave a couple of vines a little bit long, and I'm going to layer it down on the ground and pin it in the hopes that it develops roots so that I can have a second plant. Over here, the front sunbed looks really good. The bobo hydrangeas I left all winter with their dried flower heads on, as well as the sedums, and I think they look pretty good, although the sedums are starting to look a little worse for the wear. But I'm probably going to wait a couple more weeks before I come through and prune these again, just because of the cold weather that's coming. And, you know, they still look kind of okay. You can see in between here we have some allium coming up. This is the Christophii. It's like the fireworks version of the allium. And it seems a little early for them to be poking through the ground. And look at this funny one. It's coming up through the old stalk of last year's. It looks like a little straw with a plant inside of it. Hopefully it will break through that outer casing. Now right along here we have some sedum again, and this one definitely needs to be trimmed back because it looks pretty ratty. There's some more daffodils in this bed that I planted last year. We didn't have daffodils over here the year before, so I'm excited to see the extra pop of color this spring. And I do need to trim these hydrangeas as well. These are also 3 bobo hydrangeas in between the variegated boxwoods. I've got some leaves that are budding out on my oak leaf hydrangea here in the middle of the bed, and then right next to it over here we have some tulips that are just starting to come up out of the ground, and some daffodils as well. That one has some buds on it too. Let's get a little closer and take a look. Wow, look at all those buds. Alright, this front garden bed in front of the house is on the north side, so you can see it's the last where the snow melts, so it's a good way to tell what your garden is going to do in terms of what warms up sooner. This is a hellebore. It was plain white, but with age and the cold weather it has turned a beautiful pink. And next to it we also have some buds. Down here we have a huge clump of daffodils that is growing up, and it is a little yellow on the tips, and that's just because it came through a little bit of a thick layer of leaves, so
now that it's out in the sunshine, it will help to green up. And it probably will need some dividing this year because that's a really large clump. Certainly, as daffodils kind of naturalize and spread, sometimes the clumps become so big that they stop flowering as well. So it's a good sign to divide them. Just look at this Virginia. Isn't it beautiful? The color on it, I always love it. It looks great during the summer, during the spring, during the fall, and the winter. And here's our cute mini greenhouse that we just got. All set up and ready to go. I'm probably going to plant some kale out here soon and maybe some lettuce. And then those allium bulbs that I happened to find, they are growing on, and so I've stuck them in the soil around the outside of this just as a cute little pop. And this garden bed is also on the north side of the fence. So again, lots of snow still here that hasn't melted. And the boxwoods and bird bath look really pretty with the stone around it. But this side, the south side of the house, always looks just about the best this time of year because it gets the most warmth from all of the bricks on the house and on the paths and the stones. That really helps to collect the sunlight and heat it up. The Virginia look beautiful. They're nice dark red maroon color with the spiky little small irises starting to grow. And then I've got my new garden bench over here in the corner, which I'm absolutely loving. It's such a great place to sit and absorb the heat, especially early on in the spring before it really gets hot outside. It's just a fantastic place to soak up some sun. Well, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Bye!